Yeah, he's back sharp at the moment, and that's great. You know, we really need him at his best and his busiest. And
Today, Pendlebury Park showed virtually no sign of the parties which have caused havoc since late last year, thanks to the efforts of local residents. But understandably, they're getting tired of cleaning up rubbish and fed up of the noise and crimes committed by partygoers and their vehicles.
The noise of the cars worries us most because they're doing wheelies up and down here. People closer to the park are greatly affected.
They've contacted police and local councillor Greg Piper, demanding that something be done.
They're living in fear of their lives sometimes. They're certainly getting no sleep, their area's being damaged, it's vandalised, and they're very, very concerned about it.
The issue was raised at last night's Lake Macquarie Council meeting, the Deputy Mayor calling for both Pendlebury and Bonnells Bay parks to be made alcohol-free, while a citywide park ban was also suggested. But Greg Piper says alcohol-free zones alone aren't enough.
I do believe that we should be talking to the youth, finding ways to do that effectively, talking more to the police, getting a greater general presence of police, and certainly talking to anyone else in the community who's got some ideas, because I think we all need some help on this one.
Colin Baldwin, NBN News.
Great for us, the area, and even Australia in general, that didn't go offshore.
Yeah, I never say no, and it's always nice to be wanted, and playing here will be a good way to stay in shape.
The martyrs' plight has stirred community emotion, with more than 500 people turning out today to press the case for more public money for the hospital. Among them, doctors, nurses, clerical staff, past patients and current patients uniting to form one strong voice. One man felt so strongly about joining in the march, he defied doctors' orders and took part in the rally an hour and a half after undergoing minor surgery. It brought traffic outside the hospital to a standstill, but instead of being angry, drivers offered their support. Today's rally is part of an ongoing campaign to lobby the state government for money to redevelop the hospital.
Conditions in the hospital are unsatisfactory in areas that are squalid and overcrowded, and it's quite unsatisfactory to treat patients under these conditions.
According to Martyr staff, $4 million is needed to address the immediate problems. The redevelopment carries an $80 million price tag.
The staff is now expressing a strong feeling that this hospital should be redeveloped with public money. It cannot understand why essential services for a large part of northern New South Wales, that this hospital should have to go and find a partner and essentially fund itself.
Amanda Bolger, NBN News.
"19-year-old Ben Shields and 21-year-old Jamie Stauffer are sure to be the next big names in Speedway. They were churning up the dirt at Ben's grandfather's private track today, preparing for Saturday's National Under-21s Championships in Tamworth. Jamie has already won a host of production bike titles and is now turning his hand to the dirt track.
When I first had a ride on one, it was very hard to get used to, but once you get used to them, you get the feel of them, and they're good.
Ben is a third-generation rider and began racing just over a year ago. He's confident of a strong showing at Tamworth.
It'll be a hard meeting, like everyone's as good as each other, and I think I'll go all right.
Ben's grandfather and uncle form the boys' support crew. It's the last year Jamie will be able to compete in the under-21 titles.
About 4 riders have been riding over in England this year, doing it professionally, so I'll be up against them. It'll be tough, but if I can get the starts and hold them off, it'll be good.
Paul Lobb, NBN News.
With 2 players returning from suspension this week and a wealth of fringe players showing great form, Lee Sterry has had his work cut out.
Very difficult. It's the hardest week I've had in selections this season.
In what he describes as 2 line ball decisions, Robbie Angiewski and Damien Smith have been relegated to Youth League, while the lineup looks like this. Owens retains his spot in the starting 11, while Wicharak and Tripcheski return from suspension. The latter will be joined by Tancheski and Roberts on the bench. Sterry, though, has hinted at a late change, especially if Auckland coach Winton Rufer is in the Kings starting lineup. Who could forget this goal which saw the teams draw in round 4?
It'd be good to see him sit there for 90 minutes and just watch the game instead of taking part. He's a class player, and to play in Germany as long as he did just shows his class,
It'll be the Breakers' first game outside Australia, and one Sterry sees as crucial to making the finals.
It'll be good to take the team overseas for a couple of days, but at the end of the day it's a job, it's just another day at work for us, so we're going to go there and get our points.
outside, Crows before dawn. Late on the scene, Ripper with a big finish. Masked Party on the inside, Crows before dawn.
The sight of broken headstones and smashed tombs has made residents and relatives of those buried angry.
Our first main concern is the security of it, because we need to have it secured a lot better than a cow fence of what we've got around it with no gate.
There to hear the anger was John Kilpatrick, Mayor of Lake Macquarie.
Well, we have already allocated funding to finish the front fence and a gate. There's a very big fence clearly to cover the whole area, and we will apply for a heritage grant and see if we get some funding there. Otherwise, I guess we'll just have to do it in stages.
Of particular concern, revelations many children of the district have been buried at West Wallsend with no stone or plaque to mark their resting place.
We have children's graves over this part of the cemetery that has actually been bulldozed, but according to the cemetery records there's only 2, but there is people in the town who say that there's more than 2 because they have their children buried there.
A memorial garden and plaque has been suggested to honour the children who have no gravestone. Matt Carden, NBN News.
Amanda Bradley continues to reap the rewards of a fantastic 1999, named the world's best amateur. For the honour, she'll now play the next best 15 in the world for $30,000 US in England, and the rest of the best are all men.
I just hope I can bowl well and do the best again for the girls, I guess, because I'm the only one that's going to be there.
While Australia already boasts international renowned champions in Cara Honeychurch and Maxine Nable, Bradley burst onto the world stage with an amazing winning run last year that saw her take the World Cup, 2 World Championship gold medals and the South Pacific title. After England comes championships in Singapore and Malaysia, but it's the US Open in August that will be the tournament Bradley will give professional bowling a shot.
Oh, definitely. I'd be silly not to. There's just so many opportunities for me over there.
Bradley leaves for England early March. Usually the home of tankers and tugboats, Newcastle Harbour became a playground for powerboats today, a range of craft roaring to life in the annual Town to Terrace ski race. Conditions couldn't have been much better, with competitors doing a lap of the harbour before heading up the Hunter River to Raymond Terrace. And it was a quick journey, with the faster craft hitting in excess of 170 kilometres an hour, but there was always chasers. 31 kilometres upriver, some did that journey in less than 13 minutes, but one who wasn't going to give it a shake on the return leg was Top Shot. While Top Shot couldn't aim up, the challenge was being laid out by Showdown, the 2-time winner lowering its race record. But it was met by the Sting. The Sydney crew raced home to win in a record time of 22 minutes 20 seconds, bettering Showdown's old mark by almost 2 minutes. It's one of the few competitions where those involved enjoy seeing their chances go up in smoke. In fact, that's the idea. And it wasn't just for the boys. Leslie Somerville showing she's no slouch behind the wheel, winning the ladies division. They were all there, from the big V8s to the karts. All were welcome on the tarmac. But where there is smoke, there is fire, and that was the case as this 8,000 horsepower jet car strutted its stuff. The van became the biggest burnout of the night. An unfamiliar silence at Barley Ranch Raceway, the Hunter Motorcycle Club showing a sign of respect to Roy Thompson, a long-time member who passed away midweek. Home track hero Chris Watson came out to put on a show in the Long Track Masters. The Australian champion was never in trouble, winning all 4 rounds to take the Track Masters title from Victorian Jason Stevens.
The arrival in Sydney of more than 300 troops yesterday sparked a flood of emotion from loved ones, many of whom hadn't seen their soldiers for up to 7 months. Newcastle's Chad Howlett was among those returning home, greeted by his family.
I couldn't wait. It was good to get off and see Mum and Dad and Nana. Yeah, even Rick, the old grand, turned up.
When the plane whirled around into the hangar, there was several hundred people. They were all friends and relatives of the boys that were coming off that plane, and it was quite stirring.
Private Howlett spent today reliving his tour of duty with his father Peter and sister Em and long-time sweetheart, Olympic softballer Natalie Ward.
7 months, I think it was the longest 7 months I've ever endured, but I had a lot of softball to keep me busy, which was good, and I'm just really glad he's home and get back into normal life now.
Stationed in Dili and several outlying villages, the young paratrooper says it was heart-wrenching to leave the native people.
All the help we gave for the locals was, and seeing their joy and restore their lives was, being part of it was just outstanding. You know, it was really hard to leave them. They were hugging on the last day and crying and just flying away in the Black Hawk, you know. Hope you people are all right, you know.
And would he go back?
I'd go back again for sure.
Paul Lobb, NBN News.
In 1993, $3.4 million was raised for the Hunter Institute by NBN's telethon. $2 million more was allocated in 1998 by then Health Minister Andrew Revshorgi. Today those funds are still unused and not a single sod of soil has been turned in the construction of the Specialist Cancer Unit. Tired of delays, protesters rallied on the yet unused building site to highlight their struggle.
It's just, as the years have gone by, there's another excuse each time it comes up.
A time capsule recounting the story so far was put in place to symbolise the burying of the past and a new beginning.
Every aspect of the program is bursting. We have
dysfunctional resources, I guess, that it's desperately difficult for the staff, and we have difficulty in expanding the program to meet the demand of the community.
Staff and patients of the mammography centre now work and are cared for in what they regard as substandard conditions in a hodgepodge collection of demountable buildings.
Can't go on like this any longer, or we'll have to cut back on the services, and we really don't want to do that at all.
The group will push its case in the overall redevelopment of the Mater when it meets with Hunter Health CEO Catherine McGrath next week. Tanya Carlisle, NBN News.
It was a reasonably innocuous challenge, Moore stretching out to stop an Auckland chance, but in the process strained his hamstring and could miss anything up to 4 weeks.
Everyone wants to be a part of the side, and it's disappointing to be out for a while.
It'll be physio and pool sessions as the 22-year-old battles to recover for the business end of the season, but he has no complaints about where the team sits on the ladder, outright second.
A lot of the players have been involved with the side when we were down the bottom of the table, and it's just great to be a part of the side when we're up the top.
Wellington was a different story, wet and cold and played on a cricket pitch, but it still offered 3 competition points.
It's a bit different to here, but yeah, I mean, to beat them at home, not many sides have beaten them there this year, so it's a good result for us. Yeah.
Coach Lee Sterry will stick with Travis Dodd to cover at the back, while a midfield position is now up for grabs. Vasco Tresepski is expected to be right to play Gippsland on Friday night after he injured his shoulder. Jim Callanan, NBN News.
Chambers were packed to capacity. Councillors from the 2 local...
Andy, I was welcoming Head President incumbents.
Councillor Colin Sullivan has been elected.
I believe we've got the start of a very good organisation.
I think you can.
12-year-old Jessica Brown was home at Raymond Terrace today, resting up from her terrifying trial. Yesterday, as Jessica's father Ray was refuelling the family car at the Heatherbray service station just south of Raymond Terrace, a bold thief leapt into the driver's seat and made off with the vehicle, despite Jessica sitting in the front seat.
Just as I'd filled up, I went to put the gun back into the Bowser, and Jessica called me, and this fella actually drove off with her daughter and me chasing after it.
The car thief left Jessica out of the car a short distance away.
It's the lowest I've ever felt, and I was frightened for Jessica's safety. It realised, you know, that really and truly that I did a stupid thing by leaving the keys to the car.
But it was to be a short-lived joyride for the car thief. He crashed just a few kilometres away at Taro in Newcastle's west, careering into a cement median barrier. He was arrested by police at the nearby railway station. For Ray Brown and his young daughter, it's an experience they'll never forget.
I would strongly suggest that you don't leave your keys in the car and make sure you lock up, irrespective, no matter where you are, even if you're just round the corner from your home.
18-year-old Jamie Russell fronted Maitland Local Court today charged with stealing a motor vehicle, dangerous driving and drink driving. He pleaded guilty to all charges and will reappear in court next week. Tanya Carlisle, NBN News. 18-year-old Jamie Russell fronted Maitland Local Court today charged with stealing a motor vehicle, dangerous driving and drink driving. He pleaded guilty to all charges and will reappear in court next week. Tanya Carlisle, NBN News, late edition. The Metford Tavern proposal has been met with much public disapproval, residents holding numerous protest meetings. Council last night voted in favour of local residents, but now the fight seems likely to continue in the Land and Environment Court.
We received submissions from the Department of Education, the police superintendent here in Maitland, as well as Landcom, and based on the fact that it did appear to be too close to a school.
Council also knocked back an application for an adult bookshop, saying it didn't fit into the overall heritage theme of the Central Business District.
The council felt at the time that it was undesirable in that area, of course, but mainly based on strong planning principles and not just on emotive issues.
Meanwhile, councillors held a meeting on antisocial behaviour today, inviting key community groups.
We're trying to get the business leaders together in this community to talk about antisocial behaviour that all too often it does appear, it raises its head, and we're asking if there's something that council can do to assist in this situation.
Tanya Carlisle, NBN News. You'd be forgiven for thinking you'd step back into the early 1900s at Wyndham Estate. Gone are the stainless steel hydraulic presses, replaced by the winery's original 100-year-old basket press.
About 10 years ago we set about the process of restoring the winery, and it was at that stage we found it languishing in a scrapyard down in Griffith, and we set about restoration, and as you see today, it's working fine.
The grapes going through this century-old process were used to make Wyndham Estate's cellar reserve Shiraz.
What we're doing here is simply allowing the fruit to ferment naturally without the aid of any mechanical device, and as a result we're getting much softer wines, and wines which with far greater colour than we would get out of mechanical processes.
According to vigneron Howard Bourne, it may be an old way of doing things, but it has certain advantages.
It's a very time-consuming, labour-intensive process, but at the end of the day we're seeing the results in the wine we're producing.
Tanya Carlisle, NBN News.
At his fast and furious best in recent weeks, Adam McDougall has since been slowed up by a sore back. While the Night Star is receiving treatment, there's no guarantee he'll take up his position as fullback against Auckland this Saturday.
That's not a call we're prepared to make, or he's prepared to make this early in the week. He'll be given as long as possible before he has to rule himself out or in.
McDougall's absence may just open the door for the man he's been filling in for, Robbie O'Davis. There's a chance O'Davis will make his 2000 debut this weekend after breaking his foot in the off-season, but it'll be up to coach Warren Ryan as to whether he starts on the field or on the bench. To the National Soccer League, and the Newcastle Breakers line-up for Friday's game against Gippsland is a little clearer. With Mark Wilson suspended and Glenn Moore injured, coach Lee Sterry has been forced to do a reshuffle. Andy Roberts and Damien Smith will fill the spaces in the starting side, while Robbie Angiewski returns to the bench. The Breakers will be out for revenge after losing to the lowly ranked Falcons earlier this season.
Gippsland's probably been a little bit of a bogey side for the Breakers. For what reason, I'm not quite sure. Going down there's a very hard trip, and hopefully we can make the same sort of thing for them up here.
It's Eastern District's 60th birthday, and the club only wants one present.
We'd like to think that we're a possibility this year of going one step further, and that's winning the competition.
Today, its 2000 campaign was launched with the introduction of sponsors and players. Some off-season shopping has seen Eastern Districts pick up 2 ex-Wildfires, 3 players from top Mid-North Coast side Torres, and 3 Wildfires juniors, while talks were also held with ex-Australian international Willie Off and Gowie.
Unfortunately, at this point in time, Willie's vacated the country and gone to Japan with a better offer, of course. The yen's a bit stronger than the dollar at this stage, but we're hopeful.
Ex-Wildfire Richard Chippendale is one hoping that Eastern Districts, whose symbol is the phoenix, will rise from the ashes of his old club.
It's a shame that Wildfire's folded, but you know, always start again with a new club.
The competition kicks off on the 1st of April. Colin Baldwin, NBN News.
The Buckets Way is considered a major safety hazard, with local residents staging a long-term intense campaign lobbying the state government for funding to upgrade the road. However, it was the federal government which came to the party today, at least in part, announcing a $14 million program to fix black spots around the state, including the Buckets Way.
It is a state road, but the Commonwealth is putting in $690,000 to fix 2 black spot areas, which the local community tell me will be extremely welcome, make a big difference, and really will be a real improvement.
The money will be spent widening sections of the road and installing guardrails to reduce the alarming number of accidents which occur on the Buckets Way each year, such as one intersection near Stroud, which has claimed 6 lives in the past 4 years. Despite the funding announcement, Mr Anderson came under fire from a handful of disgruntled residents who feel their part of the world has been neglected by all levels of government.
We spend, by international standards, probably more than any comparable nation does per head of population on roads. It's a very big country with just 19 million people. We can't do everything we'd like, but I think we actually do a very good job with the resources available to us.
Amanda Bolger, NBN News.